Is there racism in the NFL? And why do people care if an adult star gets married and have kids? What's the big deal? We're going to get into it. Let's get it. Welcome. First of all, welcome. This is Unsolicited Perspectives. I'm your host, Bruce Anthony, here to lead the conversation in important events and topics that are shaping today's society. Join the conversation and follow us wherever you get your audio podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for our video podcasts and YouTube exclusive content. Rate, review, like, comment, share. Share with your friends, share with your family, hell, even share with your enemies. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about 100 men versus a gorilla, Shadeur Sanders falling in the draft. I know, even if you don't watch football, you'll want to hear what I have to say. And what's the big deal with an adult film star getting married and having children? Why are men upset? But that's enough of the intro. Let's get to the show. You know, men are a special bunch of creatures. Really, truly are. The idea that we as men can do anything is flabbergasting to me. And why am I talking about this? There's this viral meme that's going around of, could 100 men beat a gorilla? And I think this is an asinine question, but you wouldn't believe how many people think 100 men could defeat a gorilla. And I'm going to get into why that wouldn't necessarily be the case, but I'm going to do a little detour first. So I was about 31 years old. And me and one of my closest friends, we played high school basketball together, decided to join an adult men's basketball league. The very first game we're playing against these young boys, and I say that being that we were 30, 31, maybe 32, that these kids were, I don't know, mid-20s. We're playing in this game. We're already getting our butts kicked throughout this entire first half of the game, right? It's not fun because we haven't been practicing. We're not in game shape. We haven't played ball really in a long period of time. We're older. I'm way more muscular than I was in high school, so I don't move properly. Second half, my boy lands awkwardly and blows out his knee. We didn't realize that he blew it out initially, but when he got up to try and walk again, he collapsed and I saw his kneecap, tore his patella tendon. We helped him off the court, and on that day, I walked off the court, never to return again. I'm talking about I have never, ever played a full court basketball game since then. That was 15 years ago. That was a long time ago. I knew then it was time for me to retire. The first half had already shown me that I wasn't what I used to be, and I wasn't going to get back what I used to be because I hadn't been playing consistently. Yeah, I could go out there and hit the courts and go through my old drills and get some of that rhythm back because I wasn't old, right? Like I wasn't old. I was still sort of in the prime of my physical peak. Like I hadn't started to go downhill yet as far as like your physical peak as a male. But like, what was the point? I wasn't trying to play ball no more, and it wasn't fun. And I walked off the court because I knew I couldn't do it like that anymore. Same thing when I'm working out. I work out 6 days a week. I can push around heavy weight if I really want to. I really can. Can I push around as heavy as weight as I used to when I was 5, 10, 15 years younger? I don't know, because I'm not trying. Why would I try to do something like that? I know where my body can take me. I know the physical limitations of my body. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with getting older. Look, I don't look as good as I used to look when I was younger. I'm talking about facially. I look older. And, it is what it is. I still think I'm a handsome man, but I'm not as handsome as I used to be. This is what happens when you get older. That's just what it is, right? I don't have this idea of who I am is greater than what I am. Are you following me here? I don't have an idea that I'm greater than what I actually am. I'm very level-headed. I know what I can and cannot do. But I'm not the norm. I'm an outlier. Most men have an inflated ego and believe that they can do things that they can't do anymore. Just ask a man, could he beat somebody in a race? Ask a man, could he beat somebody up? Right? Can you beat up that young kid? Yeah, I'll beat that young kid. Bunch of kids come down here. I'll beat. No, you won't. Them young kids gonna hand it to you, right? Because you gonna throw a punch and you gonna throw out your back trying to throw a punch, bruh. Like you're old now, and that's okay, right? But it's not just about getting older. Men just have an inflated idea of what they can and cannot do. The reason why I say all of this is to say, yeah, I could completely understand why men are out there saying 100 men could beat a gorilla. And I did a little bit of research, just a little bit, to look up exactly how strong is a gorilla and how could men actually compete against a gorilla. So if 100 men were to take on a silverback gorilla, a single silverback gorilla, a single silverback gorilla would likely win against 100 men in a physical fight when these men don't have weapons, assuming the men are average, unarmed, and lack coordinated strategy or training. Here's the reason why. A gorilla's physical advantages. A silverback gorilla weighs 300 to 430 pounds. Now, are there some men out there that weigh 300 to 430 pounds? Yes, but they don't move like a gorilla. They don't, okay? They have immense muscle mass. What a 300 to 435 pound man will have is immense fat, not muscle mass. Their body fat percentage is going to be through the roof, okay? And a gorilla is capable of lifting 1,800 pounds. 1,800 pounds. People out here is barely deadlifting 500 pounds. Deadlifted. And a gorilla can lift 1,800 pounds. It's has powerful arms and can deliver devastating blows. Gorillas are also built for explosive strength and agility with thick skin and bones that are hard to damage. Okay. The average man is 150 to 200 pounds, lacks the strength and durability or natural weapons to even match a gorilla. Even in large numbers, humans without weapons or training would struggle to inflict significant harm. Punches and kicks, or grappling would be largely ineffective against a gorilla's robust physiology. So also, one thing I forgot to say, that a gorilla's bite force is around 1,300 PSI. Now, I don't know what the hell that is, but I know that's a hellified force. So 100 men go to try and attack a gorilla. Let me tell you what's going to happen. Even if it's coordinated and they try to swarm a gorilla to bring it down, right? And gouge out the eyes or something like that, because then maybe they'll be able to like get the gorilla. You got to get close to the gorilla first. A gorilla can smack you in the face 5 times. You ever remember the cartoons? Three Stooges. I know I'm dating myself. Okay. Three Stooges wasn't a cartoon, but let's go cartoons or Three Stooges, where a person would throw a slap and then slap a bunch of people in a line, like all with that one slap. That's what the gorilla would do to 100 men. Okay. Just not to mention, a gorilla can literally tear your limbs off. They can bite your limbs off. Okay. And maybe you sacrifice a few men to get close to the gorilla. But when those other men see what the gorilla did to those men that you sacrificed, they're going to turn and run away. Trust me. They're going to turn and run away. Men out here, they're going to argue me. You're going to at me. That's cool. I don't duck any smoke. Let me explain something to you. You and 99 of your friends can't fight no gorilla. You're going to lose. You also can't dunk no more. And if you can dunk, don't try it. Don't try it no more. Look, we blowing our knees and pulling Achilles at our age. Don't do it. Believe in the fact that, hey, maybe at one time you was able to do all that stuff, but that time has passed. It's over. And that's okay. Man, look, I am digging the fact that I feel like I'm aging well. I mean, yeah, my body hurt a little bit. Yeah, sometimes it's a little tougher to get up in the morning. My knees hurt. My bestie was over watching WrestleMania with me last weekend, and I climbed up on one of my little stools to do the yeet chant for Jey Uso, and I climbed up there real gingerly because the last thing I wanted to do at my age was fall. That's one of the main things. I don't want to fall. I don't understand why this is a novel concept. I don't want to hurt myself. So the only way that I know not to hurt myself is not put myself in those type of positions. Do I deadlift? Yeah, but not heavy. Do I squat? Yeah, but not heavy. I mean, I'm not doing no punk weight, but I'm not trying to figure out what one rep max is. I don't care. My ego isn't that big. Well, not that part of my ego. Anyway, yeah, men, Jesus. And it's going to feel like an episode where I'm bashing men, especially in the last segment. And what I'm bashing is the inability to be real with yourself. That's what I'm bashing. I understand it, guys. We were not taught how to deal with our emotions. We weren't. We are emotionally ignorant. We know how to deal with anger. We might know how to deal with happiness. We do not know how to deal with sadness. Real basic. We're real basic when it comes to our emotions. Real basic, because that's a part of toxic masculinity or patriarchy society. We are taught from a very young age, when we fall and hurt ourselves, to not cry. Women are allowed to express and lean into those emotions. We were not. And think about it, hanging out with your boys, don't say nothing soft. I tell my boys now, every time I see them, every time that we had, any type of phone conversations, hey, I love you guys. Because I do. They're my brothers. Sometimes I don't like them. Sometimes I don't like them. Absolutely love them to death. Would do almost anything for them except for go to jail. But yeah, I love them. And I tell them that. And, there's a crew. It's me and my two other boys. And, one of us won't ever say it. I know he loves me. I know he does. He just don't want to say it. He's stuck in his ways and don't want to show no emotions because it feel like it's soft. Oh, whatever. Like I'm over it. My friend joked on me the other day because he watches the podcast and pays attention to the clips and is actually giving me good information because he does production and things of that nature. And he said, "Hey, yo, are you wearing a neck length dangling necklace?" And I said, "Well, yes, I am. And guess what? It's got a feather on it." He said, "You old Aaron Neville Montel Williams." And I said, "Thank you. That's what I'm going for." like I'm just comfortable in my own skin. Like I don't really care. Like I feel like I'm growing emotionally intelligent, and men need to start doing that. And I am seeing a lot of men that are my age, close to my age, slightly younger, that are embracing that. It's important to live a full life, and living a full life is addressing your emotions, because if you don't address them, they'll address you. They will address you, right? You think your emotions are just the way you feel, but it affects your body. Absolutely affects your body, right? It affects your mind, it affects your spirit, it affects how you interact with other people. Think about it, fellas. This is going out to my fellas and to my ladies. Okay. The fellas and my ladies, the he, she's, him, hers, they, them, all of them. It's going out to everybody that's around my age. That's a millennial. Okay. Maybe even Gen Z. Maybe Gen Z would even understand this. You ever had a parent come home from work, particularly your father, and you run away from him, not towards him, away from him? And the reason is because you don't know what type of day he had at work. Because whatever day that he had at work, he's bringing it home. Like Red from that 70s show, how he was so mad. He was mad because he never addressed his emotions and he hated his job. If you don't ever deal with what's going on inside of you, you could be a miserable person. And you think you're just being miserable? No, you're affecting everybody around you. Everybody. So I say all of that to say this. Men, let's be realistic. Let's embrace the fact that we have emotions. And one of those emotions that is rational is fear. And it's okay to say, no, I wouldn't be able with 99 other men to fight a gorilla because I would be scared, even with those 100 men. Even with 99 people with me, we got 100 people, we're going to be scared. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the first time he rip off an arm or bite through a cheek or an arm or something, an arm or leg goes missing and he just flings it, I'm out. And what sucks is you can't outrun a gorilla. So people going to really die. It's okay to embrace that fear. We don't talk about that enough as men, that we're afraid, and it's okay. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be real. Because if you're not those things, you're stupid enough to think that you could take on a gorilla with 99 other men. And let me explain it to you one last time with emphasis. That's dumb as. I don't really know how I can completely talk about this next subject without pissing some people off. And as I started thinking about how can I address this so that people won't be turned off by it and will actually listen, I just said to myself, F it. Like, part of the reason why you listen or watch the show is because you know that I'm going to be real. You know that I'm going to address topics that are somewhat controversial. You know, I'm going to give you an honest, thought out, thorough opinion about it. Most of the stuff, if not all of it, is going to make sense even if you don't agree with it. You understand that I'm coming from a place of trying to gain knowledge, coming from a place that's unbiased for the most part. I have a position, but I like to examine everything. So unbiased for the most part. And I can't stress enough, well researched. And you know, a lot of people don't know how to do research. You know, that's one of my main jobs in college was research, right? That was just what I did, whether I was in the journalism school or if I was in the education school and the history school. Like, it was research. That's all I did was research. So I know what are good sources and what are not good sources. And not a lot of people can differentiate between the two, and I can understand it. If you weren't trained to learn what a good source is, you'll just take any source. Why am I saying all of this? Bruce, get to the point. Shadeur Sanders, the son of Deion Sanders, legendary cornerback, wide receiver, and baseball player, Hall of Famer, right? Head coach of the University of Colorado Buffaloes college football team. His son was a starting quarterback. His son, all season long, was projected as a top quarterback taken or second quarterback taken. Like, he was going to go somewhere early in the first round. All the projections, all the mock drafts had that as such. The draft was this past weekend. It started on Thursday. Thursday is the first round. Friday, I believe, is the second and third round. And Saturday is rounds 4 through 7. He was not drafted on Thursday, which means that he was not drafted on the first night. Okay, well, sometimes people slide. Like, Aaron Rodgers wasn't drafted till late in the first round, so sometimes people slide. Shadeur was not drafted on Friday. Remember what I said? That's the second and third rounds. So a projected top 10 pick did not get picked in the first round, the second round, and the third round. He finally got picked in the 5th round by the Cleveland Browns. And you're probably thinking to yourself, Bruce, what is the point? Like, I'm not a football fan. Like, why does this matter? I'm going to get to that. How does a person like that slide that far down? Well, if you pay attention to the news and the media, it's saying that, well, his arm strength wasn't that good, or, you know, he, didn't have good interviews, or he came off as egotistical, a lot of machismo, a lot of ego. But Shadeur Sanders is also a black man. And let's not make any mistake about it. The NFL, even though a couple of years ago they promoted end racism, is still owned by 32 white owners. And the last I checked, this country elected a known racist to be president for the second time. The idea that the NFL isn't racist, and I know what people are going to say, but it's majority black people, how are they going to be racist? Well, you can still be racist because you will accept black people playing certain positions, but not all. Let's not forget that Warren Moon, the legendary black quarterback, had to go to Canada to play football because teams just didn't have black quarterbacks. They didn't believe in black quarterbacks. They didn't believe in black baseball managers. The only time black coaches got hired were in basketball. There's a Rooney Rule in the NFL, which means that you got to give some black people some interview before you hire somebody because they weren't hiring qualified black coaches. The idea that the NFL is not racist would be contrary to all the evidence that we've been given. And here with Shadeur, there was another example of racism. I'm going to build my argument by comparing Shadeur to two other white college quarterbacks that actually had background issues. And then also comparing Shadeur and his family to a legendary football family. But first, let's talk about Shadeur. Shadeur, he's the son of Hall of Fame Colorado head coach Shadeur Sanders, who was widely projected as a first or second pick by analysts and mock drafts. He had an impressive college career, including a standout 2024 season at Colorado, where he threw for 4,100 yards, 37 touchdowns, and completed 74% of his passes, earning Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year honors. His confidence is well publicized. Sanders declares himself the top quarterback in the class and said teams would be fools to pass on him. Now, let's get into the draft slide. Despite expectations, Sanders was not selected in the first, second, third, or fourth rounds. He was passed over by numerous quarterback-needy teams, including the Browns several times, who even selected another quarterback, Daniel Gabriel, in the third round. So even the team that selected Shadeur Sanders in the fifth round, the Cleveland Browns, had selected another quarterback before him in the third round. By the end of day 2, Sanders was still undrafted, which he watched the draft with family and friends, with TV coverage frequently showing his anxious wait at home. There was even a prank call incident where Sanders believed the New Orleans Saints were about to select him, but it turned out to be a hoax. Who was the hoax? It was the son of the Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator who got Shadeur's private number by going into his dad's phone, and as a prank, he and his boy called up Shadeur and pretended like they were the New Orleans Saints. While this man is sitting there being publicly humiliated because teams are passing up on, he was projected to be first, second pick. News coverage all on him because he's Deion Sanders' son, and Shadeur Sanders himself warrants that type of coverage. And these fools gonna prank call him. Finally, on day 3, the Cleveland Browns traded up with the Seattle Seahawks to select Sanders with the 144th overall pick. The Browns quarterback room was already crowded, including Deshaun Watson. Y'all might not know Deshaun Watson, but look him up. He's a massage creep, and just look him up. Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, who's from right down the road, played for the Baltimore Ravens. Well, he's not from right down the road, played for the Baltimore Ravens, won a Super Bowl, but he's really old now. And the third round pick, Dillon Gabriel. Browns general manager Andrew Berry stated that Sanders' availability in the 5th round was unexpected and described him as a highly accurate and productive quarterback, emphasizing the value of the draft position. Sanders' draft slide was a talk of the NFL. Analysts and former players such as Damian Woody said the NFL sent a message that while Sanders was a good prospect, he wasn't seen as a franchise-changing talent at the next level. Woody also noted that Sandy's celebrity and the attention surrounding him may have contributed to teams passing on him. Some scouts even questioned his athleticism, his ability to handle NFL pressure, and the simplicity of Colorado's offensive scheme, raising concerns about his readiness for the pro game. Despite the fall, Sanders was praised for his anticipation, his accuracy, and his pocket skills. Hold on now. So let me get this straight. Despite his fall, Sanders was praised for his anticipation, his accuracy, and his pocket skills. Well, wouldn't that alleviate any concerns that he was pro ready? I mean, think about that. If they're saying that he has good anticipation, so why does his athleticism matter? Tom Brady didn't have athleticism. He didn't. If they're saying that one of his negatives was the ability to handle NFL pressure, they're saying that he has good pocket skills. So for those of you that don't understand football, if you've got good pocket skills, that means that you maintain composure when there's blitzes and flurry all around you. So how would he not be able to handle NFL pressure if he's got good pocket skills? And simplicity of Colorado's offensive scheme, it's not like there's a lot of really intricate NFL offenses. It's terminology. So are they saying that he's not bright enough to learn a playbook? Because don't get me wrong, there are some really bright NFL players. Not all of them, though. So you're saying that he doesn't have the mental capacity to understand or learn an NFL offense that would cause him to slide from the first or second round all the way to the fifth? Huh. Financially, he took a hit, but he had NIL deals in college, and he's Deion Sanders' son. So because of that, that's not going to be that big of a deal. When he finally got drafted, he celebrated with his friends and his family. He had a star-studded party in Dallas that was attended by NFL players and celebrities. He expressed gratitude for the opportunity and emphasized faith and patience during this process. Okay. So Bruce, you said that you were going to prove your case. You know, why can't teams decide that they don't want to have a certain player on their team? You're right. I hire people for part of my job. And though I cannot say this individually with people that I interview, there are some people that I interviewed, their personality wouldn't match with what the company wants to represent. Not to say that their personality is bad. It's not good or bad. It just wouldn't match. Sometimes things just don't work out. Just because you had the qualifications doesn't mean that things will work out, right? Because personalities have to mesh when you're working with people, especially in a team sport. Okay, that would be a very good argument that people could have. Because one of the concerns, as I stated earlier, that a lot of teams had was his entourage, his celebrity, and there's a lot that comes with him outside of football. Mind you, never anything illegal. He's a good kid, never gotten any trouble, ever, any legal trouble. There's never been any off the field issues. No drinking and driving, no citations, no tickets, no nothing. He's a braggadocious, confident young man. What would you expect from Deion Sanders' son? And he backs up what he says. Once again, he threw for over 4,100 yards, 38 touchdowns, and completed 74% of his passes. And oh, by the way, it wasn't like the team was great. He didn't have an offensive line, didn't really have a running game. He was the offense, him and another player that was drafted number 2. They were the offense. He proved himself. He won the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year and was a Heisman candidate. The boy is bad. But once again, a company or team or organization can decide that they don't think that that personality works with the organization. That's absolutely true. If there hasn't already been people before Shadeur that were far more, what's the right word? Controversial than Shadeur. On paper, far more controversial than Shadeur on paper. And we believe in meritocracy, right? Your merit should warrant you getting an opportunity. Before I get into the people that set a precedent of taking high risk, high value picks, which is what Shadeur is what they put Shadeur in, whether he's that or not in real life. That's the category that they put in. Before that, let me go through the people that were actually drafted before him. Now, there was Cameron Ward, the quarterback from the University of Miami. He slips my mind. He was going to go number one. That boy was bad. You know, I'm a University of Miami fan. I watched a lot of his games. He was going to go number one. Shadeur knew that he was going to go after him, not this far after him. So Jackson Dart was chosen before Shadeur. Sanders, these are NFL analysts that are comparing before the draft Shadeur to these quarterbacks. This is what they have to say. With Jackson Dart, Sanders is a more polished and pocket passer with better accuracy and processing. Processing, that kind of defeats what they said that he wouldn't be able to handle NFL pressure. Okay. Tyler Slaw, Sanders is younger, had a higher completion rate, and more consistent production. He was still drafted before Sanders were. Jalen Milroe, not Monroe, Milroe. Sanders is seen as a more NFL ready with elite accuracy and processing, while Milroe is a developmental prospect. Do you keep hearing this processing? Processing mean that he on the field processes the play fast and handles it well. Wouldn't that be counter to him not being able to handle being NFL pressure ready? Okay. All right. Okay. And then Dylan Gabriel was also drafted before him. Sanders offers a higher upside as a pro passer. All of these people, all of them were drafted before Shadeur. We believe in meritocracy, right? His merit on the field shows that he should be taken before these people. But there's questions about off the field. Okay, so let's get to the off the field. I said that there were two people before Shadeur, years before, that had off the field issues, were labeled as high risk individuals and still drafted in the first round. Let's first start with Baker Mayfield. He was outspoken, brash personality. That was his off-field activities and reputation. Notable for on-field gestures, fined for unsportsmanlike conduct, known for talking trash and a fiery leadership style. He had some minor NFL fines and unsportsmanlike conduct. He was perceived before the draft as a bad boy, but not a serious off-the-field risk, right? But he was brash. He was braggadocious. He talked trash on the field. He went number one overall. What is Baker Mayfield? Baker Mayfield happens to be a white man. What is Shadeur Sanders? Shadeur Sanders happens to be a black man. Merit, right? Merit, analysts, mock drafts, all had Shadeur Sanders picked first or second round. Second round would have been a fall, right? Said worst case scenario, second round. Fell all the way to the fifth. I told you about all the quarterbacks that were selected ahead of him. And the NFL analysts, the combine, the scouting reports said Shadeur Sanders is better than this person for this reason, for this reason, for this reason, for this reason. They were still drafted ahead of him. Why? Because they're saying off the field stuff. I'll get into Shadeur Sanders off the field stuff. They said off the field stuff and entourage. He's too cocky. But yet they selected Baker Mayfield. So there's exceptions made for certain people. But it's not just Baker Mayfield. There was another player. His name was Johnny Manziel. Johnny Football is what they called him. He had major controversies when he was even in college, right? From partying to all allegations of just wilding out stuff, alcohol-related incidents. He had an NFL suspension for an autograph signing. This is before NIL. He missed team activities, lied to coaches. He entered rehab during his NFL career because he was still drafted. Multiple disciplinary actions by multiple teams. This is in the NFL. What did the NFL know before the draft was? They knew that he had off the field issues, and that overshadowed his own talent. They said that his off the field issues overshadowed his talent. His career derailment by personal conduct and his draft stock impacted by concerns about his maturity and reliability. Guess what? He was still drafted in the first round. He didn't pan out. Baker Mayfield is panning out, but he didn't pan out. What is Shadeur's? What is Shadeur's? Shadeur's off-field activities and reputations is he's highly visible on social media, often alongside his father, Shadeur Sanders. He pursues interests in music and fashion. Okay. So he's on social media, which is what a lot of these Gen Z kids are. He is the son of Shadeur Sanders. That comes with a certain bit of notoriety. And he's actually a good football player too. Like if there was some nepotism to get him in the position, which is an argument, okay, that was even the case. He still had to perform, and he performed. And yeah, if his dad is the coach, his dad does commercials, Aflac commercials with Nick Saban. It's a personality, has always been a personality. What's the big deal with him doing social media posts with his father? What is the big deal of him liking music and fashion? Can your only interest be football? Because is that all it can be? What about his legal or disciplinary issues? No known legal issues or disciplinary incidents. None. Baker Mayfield had them. Johnny Manziel sure as hell had them. Shadeur doesn't. He doesn't. What was some of the pre-draft evaluations on Shadeur's non-football stuff? They criticized by evaluators for being overly sheltered and possibly uncoachable. And his dad was the coach. So how is he uncoachable? Sheltered, you might be able to convince me that he was sheltered, overly sheltered. I don't know about that. But he's not the first coach's kid, right? We don't say anything when, what's the boy, Bryce Drew for Valparaiso was coached by his daddy, right? Like we don't say there's numerous cases of college kids being coached by their parents, but that makes them uncoachable without giving any explanation of why he would be uncoachable. Just because his coach was Shadeur Sanders' dad? They don't really go into detail, just say possibly uncoachable. They say there's concerns about attitude. Get this, privilege and distractions. Okay. Baker Mayfield come from money. Johnny Manziel came from money. That's privilege, right? Now, granted, it might not have been Shadeur Sanders type money, but there's a lot. The Mannings came from money. Why was privilege not a knock on them? Attitude, do they mean swagger? Because it's not like Shadeur had any issues with other coaches. He had a run-in with an opposing player, but the opposing player had said something in social media, and he waited till after the game to check him. That's his only incident. And it didn't end up in a fight. He didn't cuss him out or call him out his name. He just said, watch what you say, because this is what you get. Because somebody said something out of pocket about him and his family. So what's the problem here? I'm really trying to understand what the problem here is. And it's funny that I brought up the Mannings. That's NFL royalty, right? Peyton and Eli Manning, both Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, got TV shows on ESPN. I mean, what could they possibly have done that would be comparable to Shadeur Sanders, and why I would bring them up? It's funny that I asked that question that I know that is on your mind. In 2004 NFL draft, Eli Manning and his family orchestrated one of the most famous draft day power plays in league history. Manning, widely projected as a top overall pick, made it clear before the draft that he didn't want to play for the San Diego Chargers, who held the number one overall selection. The reasons for this refusal included concerns about the Chargers' organizational stability and direction at the time, as well as a possible input from his agent and family connections. Eli and the Mannings orchestrated a trade by basically saying, we're not going to play for the San Diego Chargers. You better trade us. And orchestrated a trade to get traded to the New York Football Giants. Why is this not a big deal? I don't understand why this isn't a big deal. Eli even stated he was concerned about the Chargers' direction and felt empowered to influence his career path using his draft leverage. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call privilege. That's privilege. Now, is Shadeur as good as Eli? Well, I mean, for all intents and purposes, Eli did win some Super Bowls, but he wasn't the greatest NFL quarterback. Like, I don't know that he gets to the Hall of Fame. His brother definitely. But Eli, go back and look at those numbers. He's a winner. He won. He wasn't that great year to year. Like, he really wasn't. But he was a consensus number one overall pick because of the Manning name. And he did ball out of Ole Miss. But what type of power move was that the Mannings did? And yeah, it was kind of scrutinized at the time, but they got a pass. They got a pass because of the Mannings. Baker Mayfield gets a pass. Johnny Manziel gets a pass. Shadeur Sanders slides to the 5th round to the Cleveland Browns, who was the second quarterback that they chose in that draft. Why is it that Baker Mayfield and Johnny Manziel can be outspoken, can be brash, can be in your face on the football field, can have swagger and confidence and all that and get drafted in the 1st round? Why is it that the Mannings can use their power and prestige, the power and their privilege to maneuver an entire organization to forcibly trade him to the team that he wants to go to because he doesn't want to play for that team? Why is all of that okay? And Shadeur, because he's got a social media presence and he doesn't code switch and he's got confidence and swagger, fall all the way to the 5th round? What's the difference between these comparisons? What's different between them? The color of their skin. That's the difference. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Is there only one reason why he fell? There isn't only one reason. There are multiple factors. I will concede that. The major reason why Shadeur Sanders fell is because it is okay for a white man to have confidence, swagger, the whole nine. It's looked at completely different than a black man having that. White man, that's a positive. For a black man, that's a negative that can cost you millions. Yeah, NFL still has racism. I had a conversation with a friend recently. It was a male friend. And it was a male friend and a female friend. I had the same conversation because I wanted to see what it was like getting the conversation from a male's point of view and a woman's point of view, because it was something that I was really, really thinking about. And I've said that I have grown a lot through the years, a tremendous amount. And I'm really happy for that growth. One of the ways in which I have grown is just not being a hypocrite when it comes to sexuality of men and women. This is what I mean by this. Back in the day, and I know I said this before, but we got some new listeners, some new watchers, growing audience. So welcome. You've not heard this story before. And if you had heard it, I'm sorry, but I got to give I got to sometimes repeat myself to get my point across for people that haven't heard the story originally. That in college, I had a hoe equation. It was a mathematical equation to determine if a woman was a hoe. Now, not proud of it. I was proud of it at the time because it spread like wildfire, right? That equation was used at the University of Maryland, GW University. I think it got picked up at Georgetown, got picked up at American University for sure, UDC, Towson University. I think it even reached down to George Mason University. All of the major colleges that are in this area, like it touched. Okay. And it was, it was an equation to determine if a woman was a hoe or not. And it was really immature and really hypocritical, right? Because the number of men that a woman could be with was far less than what a man could be with. I didn't even have a whole equation for a man because that wasn't even a thing in my mind at that time. Mind you, this was 25 years ago. I've grown up a lot since then. But I used to have this thing, and I used to have this. I remember I was dating a woman. I was with her for more than a few years. And I asked her what her number was because she had gotten in a fight with her roommates. And, she would call her roommate a hoe. And her roommate was like, it's not like I'm the only one who's had a lot of sex around here. And I'm in the bedroom hearing this fight. And her friend yells out, "I'm sorry, Bruce." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sorry too. I don't want to hear this." So after the fight, my girlfriend walks into the bedroom. She was like, "You heard all that, huh?" I was like, "Yeah, I did hear all that." She was like, "Oh, how do you feel?" I was like, "I don't know because y'all didn't say what numbers were." So I was like, she was like, "Do you want to talk about it?" I was like, "I don't know if I do or if I don't." Stupidly at that time for me, because I could handle whatever it is now. But stupidly at that time for me, I couldn't handle it. She told me her number. For me, she might have well had been a porn star. When I think about it, it was pretty reasonable. But at that time, I thought it was absolutely unreasonable. Mind you, my number was 3 times as big, right? At that time, 3 times as big. But her number, absolutely like, oh my God, I'm dating a hoe. The reason why I bring all this up is because there's been a social media story that's gone kind of viral about Riley Reid. Most of you don't know who Riley Reid is. Technically, I don't know who Riley Reid is. I had to do some research, but Riley Reid is a former adult actress. Her real name is Ashley Matthews, and she's recently got married. Well, she got married in 2021, and it has a child. And she's like on social media promoting the fact that has a family now. Remember what I said? Former adult star. Okay, and she's getting all types of backlash, and guys are like, just think about marrying an adult film star. And I had the conversations that I had with my friend, the male and the female, was just asking them their perspective, not specifically on this, but on dating a former adult star. In my college years, while I was doing this whole equation, there's no way in hell I could have dated an adult film star. True story. This is a true story. It's around 25 years old, 26 years old, and I met a young lady. She was going to Howard for school. She was an older student. She had worked before, was from California, had worked before and started college late. So she was still in college. I think she was like 22 at the time. So I'm meeting her, and I'm actually like, we're digging each other, right? We're digging each other. And I introduced her to some people that I knew. All right. She came out. This is when I was in the restaurant industry. So she came out and met up with a couple of my bar friends. And one of my boyfriends pulled me to the side. I'm not gonna throw out his name, but he was a funny person. My sister thinks he's hilarious. Pulled me to the side and was like, "Hey man, do you know who that is?" I was like, "What you mean?" And they're like, "Yeah, that's my girl or whatever." He's like, "No, no, 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 no. I don't think you understand. She does porn." It's like, "What? No, she doesn't. She's a college student. She goes to Howard." Nah, bruh. No, she does porn. And then, like, did he pull up his phone? I don't think he pulled up his phone. Somehow he showed me the clip, and sure enough, that was her. And she had a distinguishing tattoo. I knew it was her. It was in a certain place. It was a tattoo of a certain thing. I knew it was her. So I confronted her about it. I said, "Hey, do you do porn?" She was like, I knew we were going to eventually have to have this conversation. I was like, "What? You did?" She was like, "I used to, but like I'm retired now. Like I'm using that money to go to school." And I was like, "So you used to do porn?" "Yes, I used to do porn." I was like, "Did you do a little porn or a lot of porn?" "You did a lot of porn." It's like, she told me how many films that she had done. And I was like, "This is too much for me. I can't deal with that." And I stopped talking to her. And here's the sad thing. I was really happy with her. I was really happy with it. It also makes sense why the sex was so good. I mean, that makes sense. I was really happy with her. Before I met my ex-wife, she was the first woman that, like, I had, like, for real, like, good conversations with. Not like BS conversations where you laughing and joking and stuff like that, but like some real thought conversations, the type of conversations that I crave now, real thoughtful conversations. Because she was in college, so that's where you're gaining knowledge, and it's like you're constantly thinking, you're constantly in thought in college. It was a vibe, but my naiveness couldn't get past the fact that she used to do porn, and I didn't tell my boys this, and my boys are watching right now. This is the first time because the only people that ever met her was the bar people that I was hanging around at that particular time. I couldn't handle it, so I see what's happening on social media, and I talked to my friend, one guy, one female, and the guy immediately says, "Oh hell no." I was like, "But what if she used to do porn? She's not doing porn anymore." Because I can understand that. Like, I don't want to be in a polyamorous relationship. I want to be in a monogamous relationship. I don't want to share the person that I make a connection with anybody else. That's just me. Other people that's cool with, that's not the type of relationship I want to be in. And I'm not judging anybody that does want to be in that type of relationship. I'm just saying that's not for me. So I was like, but I'm giving you a scenario where they're no longer an adult star. They used to do, but no longer. No, I couldn't deal with that. I was like, "Oh, okay. All right. Okay. That's your personal preference. I just don't want to be around them. Don't want to be around them. Like they're the plague? Okay." And I talked to my female friend, and my female friend said, I don't know why it even needs to matter." And a lot of women, when I came up with that whole equation, a lot of women says, "I don't know why this needs to matter." And at that time, I said, "That's because you a hoe." That's the reason why you think it doesn't need to matter. But no, why does it matter what somebody's past is? Like there are people out here that are love after lockup. Like people commit crimes and people could look past that, but they had a bunch of sex and they can't. There's this one adult star that was on the podcast that says, "Yeah, people assume that because I'm a porn star that my number is really high, that I've had a lot of sexual partners, but actually I haven't." And everybody's like, "That's a bunch of bull." She was like, "No, no, 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 no. I haven't. I've done a lot of work with the same stars. So I haven't actually had a lot of sexual partners. Just the sex that I've had has been on film." And I was like, "Oh, that kind of does make sense." Because if anybody's ever watched adult entertainment, the same people tend to have a lot of multiple scenes together, right? There's only so many male actors, and there's a lot of female actors, but there's only so many male actors. And I know for a fact that women out here in the street who are not adult stars be getting it in. I look, I got a lot of female friends, and because they feel comfortable with me, they tell me the raw real. And I'll be like, "Damn, if I had known you 25 years ago, I would have called you a hoe, but you are just sexually liberated. And that's too much for men to be able to deal with, is a sexually liberated woman. That's intimidating for a man, even though a man wouldn't want to admit it, because then a man is going to be like, well, how do I measure up with other men? That's that's what those men are truly, truly afraid of. They just don't want to address it. Or maybe they just don't understand it. It's a subconscious thing. But that's what happens when men don't address their emotions, when you avoid it. Today, if I reconnected with that young lady who will never talk to me again with the way that I acted, we probably have a great relationship. I have no problem dating a former adult star, not current, former adult star. And Riley Reid is happy. She met her man. They have a family. Most people would crave to be in a healthy, happy relationship. And these men out here worried about how many men that she's been with or that it's on film and that other men can see her woman. I get my rocks off when I know I got a baddie and I walk into the room with my baddie and every man is in there looking at her because I got her. She with me. You want her, I got her. That is a huge boost to my ego. I'm not intimidated because if she decides that she don't want to be with me and want to be with them, God bless you, boo-boo. Go do your thing because I'm going to keep on keeping on. I'm not going to get rattled because I can find somebody else who does want me. I just don't have that type of ego about myself. I just don't care. She's married. Riley Reid is married to Pusha Perkins. He is I don't know, he does something. He does something. Like he does something. I can't remember what he does. So they asked him, what was his perspective of his wife's former career? And he expressed support and acceptance of his wife's former career. Initially, he was uncertain about how to perceive it, and he gained clarity after advice from a friend emphasizing that no matter what one does, there will be critics, which is true. No matter what you do, there will be critics. If your woman is a CFO, she ain't never around, she don't never cook. I don't even know why you're with her. There's always going to be somebody that's going to hate on you. It's not about what other people think. It's about what you think. Because at the end of the day, when you close your eyes, when you take your last breath, the only thing that matters is, are you happy with your life? Because those people ain't going with you. You're born alone, you die alone. That doesn't mean that you got to live your life alone. What that means is you should live your life not caring what other people think of you. But her husband also mentioned that his family is open-minded about it and that Reid's past career is not a deal breaker for her. And what she did, she has openly spoken about the challenges of her adult film career posed to her dating life before she got married. She stopped performing in heterosexual scenes over a year before meeting her husband to improve her chances of forming a meaningful relationship. She acknowledges that her career will have an impact on her child to some degree later, but she takes her parenting role very seriously in managing this. And she wants to be a good mother. And it's funny because I know the sons, I watched a documentary on Pamela Anderson, and I know the sons had a difficult time with the fact that, their mom did some adult entertainment, had that tape that came out with her and Tommy Lee. They had that tape that came out. If you don't know what the tape is, and I can't help you with that, but there was a tape. Anyway, look, I know some dudes that grew up and their moms was hoes, legitimately. Like that was a profession. I also know some dudes that grew up and their mom was hoes, and that wasn't a profession. They was just like that. And yeah, you get ridiculed and things like that. But once again, who cares what another person says? It don't have no effect in your life unless you allow it to have an effect in your life. So I say all that to say this: men out here, and I know I've been dragging y'all a little bit in the first segment and this third segment, but it's because I feel like we need to evolve. That's the problem with us. We haven't evolved. We're getting there. Some of us are getting there. Some of us are getting there, and I have strong faith in Gen Z getting there. And then hopefully that rolls into Gen Alpha. But we need to evolve. Yes, we're getting physically stronger. Yeah, man, we're taking better care of our hygiene. You know what I'm saying? We're getting fancy beards and fancy haircuts. You know, we always try to smell a little good. We got some new fragrances, some body creams. They got men body creams now that they got cologne in them, make you smell good from head to toe. Right? Like that's cool. We got Manscape out here. We manscaping. That's cool. That's what we should be doing. That's great that we're taking care of our physical attributes. Let's take care of those mental and emotional ones too. Let's keep evolving. Let's keep evolving. And if you say, hey, look, for me, I just couldn't date an adult film star because I don't believe in adult entertainment. Okay, that's your stance. And I don't have no complaint against that. I mean, I wouldn't judge a person from doing something that they wanted to do, but if you just don't believe in it, cool. Don't watch it. Don't say that you don't believe in it, but you still watch it, because that's a hypocrite, right? If you like, I don't believe in adult entertainment, then okay. And I don't really want my woman to have been in adult entertainment. Okay. I mean, everybody's got their thing. Women out there got height requirements. Maybe men say, I don't want you to have been in adult entertainment. But don't judge them for that. At least get to know her. Do better than 25-year-old Bruce. 25-year-old Bruce made a major mistake. Major mistake. And his heart was broken. But his heart was broken because his ego was broken. And that's because he wasn't emotionally mature. Guys, stay out of women's bedrooms. Stay out of their body. Not like out of their body, but stop trying to control their body. It's their body. It's their choice. On that note, I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for watching. And until next time, as always, I'll holla. Woo! That was a hell of a show. Thank you for rocking with us here on Unsolicited Perspectives with Bruce Anthony. Now, before you go, don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, comment, and share our podcast wherever you're listening or watching it to it. Pass it along to your friends. If you enjoy it, that means the people that you rock will enjoy it also. So share the wealth, share the knowledge, share the noise. And for all those people that say, well, I don't have a YouTube. If you have a Gmail account, you have a YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can actually watch our video podcast and YouTube exclusive content. But the real party is on our Patreon page, After Hours Uncensored and Talking Straight-ish. After Hours Uncensored is another show with my sister. And once again, the key word there is uncensored. Those are exclusively on our Patreon page. Jump onto our website at unsolicitedperspectives.com for all things us. That's where you can get all of our audio, video, our blogs, and even buy our merch. And if you really feel generous and want to help us out, you can donate on our donations page. Donations go strictly to improving our software and hardware so we can keep giving you guys good content that you can clearly listen to and that you can clearly see. So any donation would be appreciative. Most importantly, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for listening and watching and supporting us. And I'll catch you next time. Audi 5000. Peace.